everyone! Today we're going to talk about xylitol. Xylitol is a great sugar substitute, so I want to go through with you why that is, all the benefits. First of all, xylitol is natural because you find it in many fruits and vegetables. Also, even in our bodies actually produce xylitol through normal metabolism. Xylitol has similar sweetness to sugar, so if you're using xylitol in a recipe, for instance, you can substitute it 1-for-1. But it has 40% fewer calories, so that's great if you're trying to lose weight. So sugar, in 1 gram, you get about 4 calories, whereas in xylitol, it's only about 2.4 calories per gram. So most xylitol that you buy, like this one, it's produced from tree bark, so a plant fiber called xylan. One of the reasons it is so important for us to limit the amount of regular sugar that we eat, and indeed things like high fructose corn syrup, which we're seeing more and more in our processed foods, is their effect on our blood sugar. So it raises our blood sugar very quickly, and that is not good for our health if that is done repeatedly. So if we eat these kind of foods repeatedly. So that can lead to insulin resistance, diabetes, and various other metabolic syndromes. Now, xylitol doesn't raise blood sugar like normal sugar does or high fructose corn syrup. They're completely different, and that's why you don't get all the harmful effects with xylitol like you get with sugar. So for instance, if we look at the glycemic index, which just shows us how quickly blood sugar rises when we eat a certain food, we find that for xylitol, it's only 7, whereas for sugar, it's about 70, and that index goes up to 100. So you can see it's a huge difference. Initial studies on xylitol show very promising benefits on our metabolic health. For instance, they've shown that you can reduce diabetic symptoms by eating xylitol. You can reduce belly fat through xylitol, and overall weight gain even if you're eating a fattening diet. Xylitol is also really good for your dental health. The reason for that is because all the bad bacteria in your mouth that live on your teeth, they use glucose or sugar for their energy production from the food that you eat. Now, if you start taking xylitol, these bacteria can't use the xylitol. So you're essentially reducing the amount of fuel for them. But not only that, they will still take on the xylitol, so essentially eating it, but it clogs up their system so they can't use the glucose. So when you take xylitol, you are essentially starving those bad bacteria. They've done studies where they've shown that by consuming xylitol, you can reduce the amount of bad bacteria in your mouth by up to 70%. I mean, that's incredible. And that is without destroying the good bacteria in your mouth. So even though xylitol is fantastic in humans as a sugar substitute, and I highly recommend it, one thing that is really important to bear in mind is that it is highly, highly toxic for dogs. Now, the reason for this is that when we take it as humans, our body recognizes that it is not glucose and absorbs it slowly. But in dogs, their body does not recognize this. It thinks it's glucose, and because of that, it starts pumping out lots of insulin. And that in turn can lead to hypoglycemia, basically low blood sugar, and even death in dogs. And they don't have to ingest a lot. So if you have dogs, just make sure they do not get their hands on your xylitol. But xylitol is completely safe for human consumption. They've done long-term studies of this as well and shown that there are no harmful side effects whatsoever. One study, they had people consuming 1.5 kilos every month, up to 30 tablespoons a day without any negative side effects. However, there are some people, when they start using xylitol, that might experience a bit of bloating. And this is because the good bacteria in your gut can ferment it. Usually the best thing to do then is just start with a smaller dose and then you can work your way up, and that usually works just fine. So xylitol, it's not simply a sugar substitute. Don't think of it just like that. Of course, we're using it as a sugar substitute, but it actually has some wonderful health benefits. So I think it's an excellent choice if you're looking for a natural sweetener. And like I said in the beginning, it looks like sugar and it pretty much just tastes like sugar.